Why would the faithful swap the divine revelation with man-made rules, which are always subject to change under political and social pressures? In my presentation that you will see on the website, I have given about 20 or 30 injunctions from Quran. I'm not going to discuss those. Those are things like truthfulness, justice, honor of oath, honor of your promise, sincerity without pretense, chastity, envy kind of thing is not encouraged in Islam, that kind of thing. I've given a whole list. It's not a complete list, but for every term I've provided the reference from the Quran, that's the verse number and chapter number, and anybody who's interested, they can take a look once it's on the website. There's no point, and we don't even have time to go through all that, so I'll just skip to the next section. There are some controversial things in Quran, and I've got 4 to discuss, and I don't know if there are any other huge controversies, but there are 4 that I have chosen, and I would like to go through that briefly. And the first controversy is around adultery. Contrary to the popular perception, now I bet you have seen it on TV, and we have heard of references. Oh, we have seen this on TV. They showed us it. They said this. I'm sure we have heard it. We have seen it on TV that in Iran and maybe a couple of other places, they stone somebody to death, or they wanted to stone somebody for death. There is no such thing in Quran. As simple as that. And as I said in the beginning, I want to distinguish between Quran, Muslim, and Islam. So when we are looking at Quran, we are talking about Quran, I can assure you, Quran does not have any such thing as stoning somebody to death because of fornication or whatever. Contrary to the popular perception, the Quran does not have stoning as a punishment for fornication or any other crime. The Quran, however, strictly disallows adultery, and the punishment was set at 100 lashes according to the verse number 2 of chapter 24. But according to the verse number 17 of chapter 4, the guilty can be set free if they repent. It's simple as that. Cutting hand of a thief. Now that's another thing, I think we have discussed it earlier today, but then it goes on and on and on, and it has been going on for 1400 years. I have a couple of references I can give you. Actually, you will have it in the database, and you can always check. There's a disagreement among scholars too as to what is really meant in the verse number 38 of chapter 5 regarding the punishment of a thief. Some translate it to be cutting the hand, severing the hand, that is, cutting the hand off. And others claim that the cutting refers to making a cut to make a permanent mark, to identify as a punishment that this guy is a thief. They argue, the scholars and the experts of the language, which I am not, they argue that same Arabic word is used in other places in Quran, such as verse number 31 of chapter 12. It's, by the way, all written. I'm sure you can remember it, but it's all there on the website, where it means an injury to the hand with a knife, etc., etc. And the same word appears in other places with other meanings. And for this one, no, I did not lie. That's something wrong. So it should be noted, however, that the next verse, which is that last verse I mentioned was 5.38, and the next verse 5.39, leaves the door open for repentance again, for making amends. If he says, "Oh, okay, I made a mistake, I won't do it again." Okay, he's just set free. Another thing many people don't know, don't realize, Quran does not have any perception of imprisonment or jails. You just fix the thing, whatever it is, right then and there, and then go home. You don't go on and on and on with it. Okay. Another thing which is usually brought up, and we just discussed a few minutes ago, is polygamy. Of course, it's there. It's allowed, but only with certain conditions. You have to meet those conditions. The polygamy was allowed for special situations. Originally, it was introduced in verse number 3 of chapter 4. It was introduced after Battle of Uhud, where they had lots of widows created after that due to the battle, and many of them had children. So the idea was, if somebody wanted to take another wife, but they have to make sure that they can live with them and be equally fair with all of them, and at the same time with their children involved from their previous husbands, they have to look after those children as well. All these things are not easy, and that's what Quran says, that you are better off with just one wife. But there is a door open, maybe not totally open, but there is a little probably break in the door. There is open, you can use it, and you can misuse it too. But the verses are there, whatever are involved, and you can always look up. Another controversial thing that we have seen over the century is the beating of wife. Many scholars have pointed out that the verse number 34 of chapter 4, the Arabic word daraba, can have several meanings, including, as has been translated by some, to beat. Yusuf Ali's translation has a discussion note on this word, and he thinks the most appropriate translation should be to stay away. In her translation, there's a translation that came in the market about 3 years ago. Lala Bakhtiar, I think she's an Iranian-American woman who wrote this translation about 3 or 4 years ago. And she spent quite a bit of time on this verse in this area, and she says that the right meaning, the real meaning of that word in that verse is to go away, not to beat. So the reference are given there, the reference of the Quran is given there, which is Lala Bakhtiar. It's called the Sublime Quran. In fact, I had heard about this several years ago, but I bought a copy just a few weeks ago to make sure that I see it with my own eyes when I was preparing this presentation for you. For my closing remarks, so we are getting to the end of the thing. There's always a light at the end of the tunnel, as long as it's not a tree, but in my case it won't be. During the last few years, there has been a political motivation to turn Islam into a boogeyman to replace communism. They didn't have communism to be used as a boogeyman, so that they thought, well, that's the right time to use Islam, and in my opinion, that's what is happening. This may have given rise to some curiosity to inquire about the relevance of Quran, especially when so many Islamophobes are busy in aligning Islam